So there's something I'd like to share with you. All right. It came from my study and my observation and my conclusion on the subject of how people respond to opposition. Now, there are basically 5 ways people respond to opposition, right? There might be more, but this is from my study. 5 ways people respond to opposition. Now, the first way people respond to opposition or a challenge or disagreement is by going defensive. You know, when something comes to you and it looks like it's challenging you or coming in the opposite direction, the first thing you want to do is to go defensive. All right. So when people hear this thing about you is not good, or you did this wrong, or you did that wrong, or you got it wrong, or somebody tries to accuse or whatever, some people go defensive as one of the ways. Now that's normal, that's human. But if you are always on the defensive, it is one of the weakest way to respond to opposition. Now, the second way people respond to opposition is by going offensive. Now, offensive means that once you get an information of how you're not doing well, you want to remind the next person of how he or she too is not doing well. You want to go back by saying, why you also did this, you also did that. Or you try to attack back when somebody goes, I think you're not okay. You go back, I think you too, you're not okay. You know, that's one of the ways people respond to opposition. All right. So that too is human. It's part of human, but it's also another weak way of responding to opposition. Now, you can't negate all of this. They all exist. But if this is your only way and your major way of responding to opposition, it means that you're responding to the weakest parts of your response to opposition. Now, the third way people respond to opposition is by being strategy. All right. Now, by being strategic, you're asking the questions, why? You're asking the questions, how? You're asking the questions, what is the motive behind this? Because the truth is that somebody can actually say something bad and not mean something bad. Somebody can actually oppose you, yet it's not an opposition. Somebody can actually disagree with you, and yet you guys are not in disagreement. So to be strategic is to ask questions and to position correctly, because sometimes the way it seems may not be the way it is. All right. So strategy helps you think. Strategy helps you reason during conflict, during oppositions. So being strategic is a very good way, a strong way of responding to opposition. Number 4 is balance. Balance is a good way to respond to opposition, because if you are balanced, you know when to speak, you know when to respond, you know when to act, you know when to be quiet, you know when to walk out, you know when to stay, you know when to hold back, you know when to call for a meeting, you know when not to call for a meeting. It is the voice of balance. There are some oppositions you should not say anything to, you should not even respond to. There are some opposition that needs just or that require your silence. There are some oppositions that require you walking away for a while. There are some oppositions that require a dialogue. There are some oppositions that require you calling in a third party. And there are some others that require just the two of you talking. Now, it takes balance to know what to do and when to do it and how to do it. All right. When strategy is in place and you are balanced, you are able to respond to oppositions properly. All right. Strategy and balance will help you repair what is wrong and also keep the relationship. Now, number 5 way and the 5th way of responding to opposition is love. Now, that is the highest, the purest, and the strongest form of responding to opposition. Responding to disagreement, responding to conflict. The strongest is love, the voice of love, L-O-V-E, love. Now, that's the highest point. Now, if you can still love at the heat of passion, if you can still love at the heat of contention, if you can still love at the highest point of being offended, being disrespected, being disregarded, you are a strong man. Now, meekness is not weakness. Meekness cannot be weakness. In fact, meekness is one of the strongest form of power and energy. It takes a man who has a lot of self-control, a lot of stay power, a lot of resilience, a lot of self-control to be meek. It takes a lot to be meek. So being able to still love in the face of adversity and contention is the strongest, the purest, and the most reliable way of responding to opposition. Now, if the person opposing you can sense love from your inside, the fight will almost die down. The contention will almost die down. The conflict will almost die naturally. There is no issue that love cannot solve. And sometimes love will warrant you walking away without revenge. Love will warrant you walking out without fighting back, without reducing the person, without talking down on the person, without hating on the person, without malice, strife, or contention. Now, the summary is this: all 5 of these is in every human when it comes to opposition. Now, knowing when to administer which is what makes you that outstanding human being. There are times, even in love, you have to defend what is right. There are times, even in love, you have to look somebody in the face and tell the person, you're not supposed to do this. There are times in love, you can sit down and strategically tell yourself, this should be done now, this should be done then. Then out of love, if you are balanced, your response to opposition will be almost 100%.